Cited as the benchmark in luxury saloons, the BMW 5 Series is one of the most sought after cars on Irish roads. And nothing says I've made it quite like driving one of these. This 2017 model, or the G30 to the real BMW fans, has just arrived, and for 1 week only, I got to pretend that I am one of those people. Here's what I've learned so far. Everything about this car is designed to impress, so I'm going to start with some of the smaller things that make you go wow. And first of all, there's the very first thing you touch, which is the key, or in this case, a miniature touchscreen, which will allow you to check the fuel levels and even set the temperature for your next departure. It also opens and starts the car. It's push button start, of course, and when you do press that button, that feels like the equivalent of a red carpet being rolled out. Next on comes your infotainment, provided by the fantastic iDrive system, which we'll look at closer in a minute. But first it's time to set your destination, choose your music, and finally adjust the volume. That is what they call gesture control, and it might just be the coolest thing I've ever seen. On a slightly more practical note, the new 5 Series is larger than the last one. It's got a longer wheelbase, which means more legroom for backseat passengers who, needless to say, are going to be very comfortable back here. The boot has also grown by 10 litres, meaning it's now the same size as an Audi A6 and just 10 litres smaller than a Mercedes E-Class. There's plenty of storage throughout the cabin. It passes this vital test. And this one. And most importantly, this one. The interior is as luxurious and high-end as you'd expect. This steering wheel is finished in the softest leather I've ever felt in my life, and everything you touch or open just feels so sturdy yet so graceful. The iDrive infotainment system is controlled via this dial in the centre here, or if you prefer, you can use it as a touchscreen. It's got all the usual Bluetooth and smartphone integration, but it's the first car ever to have Apple CarPlay that's wireless. You can also drive it. This is the 520D, which is in general the most popular seller here for both practical and economic reasons. Although this is the X-Drive model, which adds four-wheel drive power, and it's an M Sport, which brings the starting price up to just under €61,000. In contrast though, the running costs are relatively low. It's got an impressive claim fuel economy of 4.7 litres per 100 kilometres, and in relation to performance, the annual motor tax bill isn't bad either at €270. Speaking of performance, driving a 190 brake horsepower four-wheel drive BMW is pretty good fun. It's the first meaningful amount of time I've spent with one, I'll admit, but the handling of this 5 Series can only be described as special. I get it now. The suspension makes every road surface feel like you're gliding on glass. You literally don't feel anything, and you barely hear anything either because it's so well insulated. The automatic gearbox is so seamless you don't even notice the work it's doing behind the scenes, predicting and selecting gears in advance to make for the most effortless experience behind the wheel. But when I say effortless, I don't mean boring, and that combination of power and grip just makes it phenomenal to drive. And the low down driving position just makes it, for me, the perfect balance between comfort and fun. As for the downsides, because what good's a review without them, I'll have to be a bit nitpicky here, but like most luxury saloon makers, they don't seem to want you to carry a middle seat passenger back here. The large transmission tunnel means very little legroom, and the raised seating position means there's not as much headroom either, so definitely best left to two. The digital instrument cluster is impressive, it does look good, but it's just not as good as Audi's virtual cockpit. Then there's the options. There are many of them, you'll want them, and they get expensive. In fact, the total sum of extras fitted to this car comes to €13,250. An extra €50 would buy you another small car. And finally, no one will let you out in traffic ever again. Personally, I could live with that if it meant I got to live with this. But you can make up your own mind by visiting it at your local BMW dealer, details of which you'll find on CarsIreland.ie. Or perhaps you'd like to see what the competition have to offer. And for news and reviews of all the latest cars on the Irish market, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.